Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel and to the second Dogfight Diagnostic here. We're back in the Hawker Hurricane, as you can see. It's the finished multiplayer server once again, and once again I've taken the 12 303 machine guns. This time around the weather is much cooler, it's snowy. But it's clearer as well. There's very little cloud cover, and what clouds there are quite high this time around. So for those reasons, unlike last time, I will not be flying toward the front. I figure just too much visibility out there, and I'm alone again in this particular sortie. So I've really got to kind of try to be careful and only get into engagements that I think I've really got a shot at controlling. So as I take off and as I'm thinking about where I want to go to, I opt for a defensive cap over kind of a northern region. While I'm flying up there, it actually receives a call out that is under attack. I'm still 10-15 minutes out at that point in time. So I think, well, I'm not going to make it there to, save the day, but maybe I can intercept them on their, egress. The obvious egress for them was basically due south to the nearest airfield. So I kind of pick a point between their airfield and the target, really close to the front line border actually, and I head that way and kind of hope that I'll be able to catch sight of them. So that's what I've done, and lo and behold, I've spotted two bandits crossing the deck, flying due south from the target. Let me see if I'll zoom back in on that again. I've got eyes on them, and I'm working on a dive here. They're just over the trees there. I'm trying to get an ID on them. At this point, I've ID'd them as twin engines, and therefore some sort of ground attacker, and times two. I've ID'd that there's two of them. So I'm kind of diving down, trying to put myself in a spot where I'm off to one side of them and can kind of make a crossing strafing attack rather than getting directly behind them and letting their tail guns hit me. So I'm going to pause it. Let's pause right here. I'm making a decision at this point about which one I want to engage. And for me, the decision is actually pretty easy in this case. It's go for the rear guy. If I go for the front guy, odds are I'm going to be putting the rear guy right on my 6, and he'll probably try to lock on and shoot me down. So I pick the rear guy. I line him up and get those cross shots, just have him fly right through my stream of bullets. Now in this moment, I think what the rear guy expects me to do is stay on the lead and try to put some bullets into the lead as well, so I kind of get a 2-for-1 sort of pass. Sometimes that can be successful, but I'm actually more concerned about giving the rear guy a chance to get in behind me. So as I see him kind of looping up over the top, I decide to stay with him rather than to pay attention to lead right now, who at this point is flying straight and is still ahead of me, and therefore not really a direct threat. Now, interestingly, I think that this 110 pilot did not expect that, because he seems to have lost eyes on me. He's just flying straight, kind of looking for me, and then all at once he dumps his nose and dives. I think that's the moment he spotted me and realized that he was, probably in trouble. So I get a lot of hits into him there. He wants to kind of start scissoring. I don't really want to blow my energy at this point, so I kind of let him extend a little bit. I know I'm still faster and I can get back to him. Let me see, I'm just kind of spraying all over the place. Something blows there. He's really struggling hard at this point, extending away. And then, surprise, there's a third. So the first guy had kept extending forward. This second guy I've been fighting with, of course, is right in front of me. And then I hear that tap on my hull. I look behind me, and look at that. There's another 110 lining me up. So, there's a very important mindset that I take when I'm in dogfights, especially when it's against multiple bandits. The idea is don't be target fixated. You can effectively multiply yourself by changing targets, because that guy who's right in front of me, he's going to assume that I stay with him. But because this guy is now my biggest threat, because he's on my 6, it's time for me to change priorities. And it's going to take that guy in front of me a little while to realize that I have let him go or change priorities. So for a little bit there, he's going to think that I'm still with him. This guy behind me is, of course, going to be looking at me. And so it's almost like I've just split myself in two. There's the real me, and then there's the phantom me that the guy in front of me sort of imagines is still chasing him. And that's the idea of multiplying yourself so that your enemies think that there are more of you than there really is. And it's achieved by just changing targets and always staying focused on whatever is either the greatest threat or the most achievable target. So you can see I'm circling with this guy now, but then I spot another one coming in, and I think, well, time to multiply myself again. And so I change objectives again and put some guns on this guy. He's really surprised by that, dumps his nose, and now he's, of course, looking at me. And there's 110s just flying everywhere right now. I decide this guy's looking pretty weak, pretty vulnerable. I'm going to try to bring him down. And sure enough, I've lit his engine on fire. And he is not going to be a factor for me anymore. So now I can go back to being focused on the 2. That one tries to cross me. Gets a light hit in there, but overall I should be okay. So I'm going to try and force him kind of into a scissor move here. He's a little bit low on energy, though. I think he probably almost hits the ground, much like I almost do here. And so it kind of breaks up our scissor, which turns out pretty well for me. All right, I'm light. Oh, hey, bud. So that's 2 down, 1 to go. So 1v1 at this point. I don't know where the 1 is. So I'm going to turn back toward him and see if I can find him. At this point, I've been pretty successful. Maybe I can keep that up.
Only 1 left.
Now, I would suspect that this 1 kind of lost me and lost eyes of the fight exactly because I had multiplied myself. He probably assumed that I was fighting him when in fact I was fighting his buddy. And now he's wondering, where's all my buddies and where's the bandit? He knows now. Really, it's incredible to me after that pass in particular that this guy was still flying. And you'll see he's not only flying, but he's still pretty fast, faster than me, in fact. I see that he's behind me, so I decide it's a good opportunity to extend. And what I did there is made him come a little further around the circle to try and put the most distance between him and me as possible. But he's chasing me. He didn't give up. He's undeterred by the fact that I've taken out both of his buddies in a 3v1 scenario. So he keeps chasing me. I can see him Just kind of watching the white streak of smoke behind me. Let me see if I can pause and show that. Just kind of weaving up and down in between these trees. Watching him chase me. Right there, I'll circle the white trail of smoke against the trees. You can see him pursuing me and actually closing, getting pretty close. So I decide, all right, time for me to do something about this. Tighten my circle way up, almost to the point of blacking out, and then reverse. So he's blowing past me. He does not, of course, have the maneuverability to keep up with me, especially with the missing aileron. And that's just reversal 101. Get slow, throw your energy into turns. Kind of like in the last Dogfight Diagnostic, control the fight by forcing your enemies in front of you. And since he's the only enemy left at this point, I don't even have to make priority calls. I don't have to multiply myself anymore. I just got to get behind him and put bullets on target, basically, until the bullets run out. Which, in fact, is what's going to happen here. I'm saddled up on him, getting all kinds of good shots, and then I call Winchester. I'm out of bullets, so I just hit the deck and extend. I at this point don't know if he's going to chase me, if he's going to stay evasive. My assumption is at this point he's still kind of flying defensive against a phantom plane. Eventually he'll realize that I've broken off, but I figure it'll be too late for him to catch me. And that's where the dogfight ends here. I would say, even though the third one didn't go down, that really wasn't any fault of mine. I put a lot of rounds into him, and I would still probably suggest that I beat him. He certainly limped home. I did find on the end screen he did survive. I only got 2 kills, and so he must have made it back home. Good for him, honestly. But still a very decisive victory going into what I thought was a 1v2, to very quickly find that it was in fact a 1v3. Not a bad dogfight at all. And again, the only way I had a chance at being successful in that dogfight was to multiply myself, to make them think that there was more than one airplane there. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. I promise one of these days we'll do something in an airplane other than a hurricane. But again, main takeaways from today was when you find yourself against multiple bandits, particularly if you're by yourself, find ways to multiply yourself. Force them to fight offensively or defensively against, phantoms. It's almost mind games. But hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that was entertaining. It sure was a cool fight. You can see my engine dies right as I land. But that's going to do it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.